Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
Now let us carry forward all of these into the understanding and applying them for solving certain questions. For example, we have the first question, why does a desert cooler cool better on a hot, dry day? Now you need to understand that there are two things in this matter. One is, it is hot, dry day. That means the level of humidity is very, very less, because it is also an important factor in deciding the rate of evaporation. So we can also say that the fourth concept is that it depends on the humidity level. So questions like that can get solved by applying this concept. Now what is humidity? It is the amount of water vapor that is present in the air. More the level of humidity, more the water vapor, less would be the rate of evaporation. Less the water vapor in the air, that is, if the humidity is less, then more would be the rate of evaporation. Why? Because the water molecules will get enough space in the air to get converted from the liquid state to the gaseous state. But if the water molecules are already there in plenty in the air, then the water molecules will move at a very, very slower rate from the liquid state into the gaseous state. So the same thing can be applied in case of solving this problem. Here, because it is a hot, dry day, that means there is less humidity. And what is desert cooler? That means supply of water. So definitely there happens to be a very good linkage that on a hot, dry day, the desert cooler is effective in cooling because the level of humidity is very, very less. So as the level of humidity is less, the rate of evaporation is going to increase, and thus we know that evaporation also results in cooling effect. Why does it result in cooling effect? Because it absorbs the energy from the surface and gets so that it can convert itself from the liquid state into the gaseous state. So as the level of humidity is very, very less, the rate of evaporation will increase and it will result in better effective cooling. Okay, next, let's go to the next question. How does the water kept in an earthen pot become cool during summer? Now what happens when you take an earthen pot? For instance, if I draw an earthen pot, we know that it is made up of mud, it is baked mud. So there would be very tiny air particles with tiny holes in it. So the water which is present inside the pot comes to the surface and starts evaporating. So you would find that the water particles comes to the surface and starts evaporating. And we know that evaporation leads to cooling effect. That's why the water which is kept in an earthen pot becomes cool during the summer. Alright, okay. Now let's do the next question. How are we able to sip hot tea or milk faster from a saucer rather than a cup? Now for solving this problem, you need to identify what would be the factor that I need to apply in order to see that the rate of evaporation is faster. Here you can see that we have saucer. Now what is a saucer? Saucer means the surface area of a saucer and a cup would be different. Definitely in case of cup, what would it be? The surface area is less. But in case of a saucer, the surface area is more. So when you place hot tea or milk on a saucer, the surface area has increased. And as the surface area has increased, more particles are exposed to the surrounding. And thus, more particles can absorb the energy from the surrounding and get converted from the liquid state to the gaseous state. So that's why the rate of evaporation happens faster, and we know evaporation leads to cooling. So the liquid which is on the saucer would be cooler faster than in comparison to cup. That's why we are able to sip hot tea or milk which is placed on a saucer rather than in a cup. Alright, now next let's move to the next question. what type of clothes should we wear in summer? What do you think? We had already discussed. Definitely it has to be cotton. Why cotton? There are two reasons why cotton can be used. One reason is that cotton is a very good absorber of moisture. First. Second is cotton has lot of air gaps, air pores on it. So these air pores, what do? Because cotton is a good absorber of moisture, it absorbs the sweat and exposes the sweat to the surrounding. And through the air pores, these sweat gets evaporated into the atmosphere. And we know that evaporation leads to cooling effect and thus we feel cool. That's why during the summers, we should wear only cotton clothes. Okay, so when you are writing this answer, you also need to write that why cotton clothes. The first factor would be because cotton absorbs moisture and cotton has air space which allows faster evaporation. Okay. Then we also learned that there is concept of evaporation and boiling. Evaporation is a surface phenomena, whereas boiling is a bulk phenomena. For evaporation, there is no requirement of any specific temperature. It happens at any temperature. For boiling, there is specification of temperature. And evaporation depends on the rate, humidity level. More the humidity, less would be the evaporation rate. It also depends on the surface area. More the surface area, more would be the rate of evaporation. More the temperature, more would be the rate of evaporation.